Hi there, my name is Lauren. I am a traditionally published best-selling author as well as book and publishing strategist, and in today's video I thought we could talk a little bit about trade reviews, what they are, what they do, if you need them, how to get them, the differences between the different types of trade reviews, etc. But before diving into this, I don't have a sponsor, but I did want to brag a little bit about a nice little event that I went to this past weekend called Creative Con, and it was put on by my really good friend Julie Loken. And I got to meet some really, really amazing people there. I got some books signed, dude. The Quiet Hero by Nikki Pasquarella and Anton Drost. Got that signed. A good friend of mine, Tom Langan, I have his book called Legendeering. Like, there were some really freaking cool people there. And then, shameless plug, I also got to contribute to a new book. Don't mind that stain. It's just well loved. That's all that means. But I did get to contribute to a book with a bunch of other amazing people. You can see my picture right there, but it happened in the Chicago suburbs this past weekend. So I'm a pretty diehard introvert. So a lot of days of talking and socializing takes a lot out of me, but I'm still feeling pretty jazzed, and I want to channel that into this amazing video that I have in place for you all. So let's just talk about trade reviews then. I'm going to borrow a definition that I thought was really well done by Emily Anger. I'm sorry if I mispronounced her name. She is a book marketing and publicity coach with over 10 years of experience in the field, and she describes trade reviews as an analysis of your book written and published by a trade magazine in the publishing industry. And examples of these magazines, some of the more popular ones include Kirkus, PublishersWeekly, Library Journal, and Booklist. I'll be talking about each of those kind of differences and similarities between the two, what you got to know about each of those. They're not meant to be consumer facing, but it is meant to tell others in the book biz what books are coming out, what books are getting hyped up, what books seem like they're really going to make a splash. Sometimes these reviews will have like starred reviews, meaning that one particular book was really, really good and they're just giving it a little extra love, but how do they work? What purpose do they serve? I'm also going to borrow an explanation from the wonderful Kathleen Schmidt. I follow her on Substack, and I have for at least the past 6 months, and I absolutely love her. So I actively look forward to getting her newsletters. And she says that publishers, usually the marketing or publicity department, submit ARCs or advanced reader copies and galleys, which are kind of similar to that, to publishing trades 4 to 6 months before a book's publication, hoping it will get a good review. If a good review runs early enough, editors will pull a quote from it and put it on the front or back cover of the book. So I have some examples. In case you don't know what she's talking about, hold on a second. I just pulled a couple off my shelf back here. The first one is the amazing On Writing by Stephen King. There's nothing on the front cover, but if you flip it over to the back, you'll see right away that there are like these little blurbs here. These aren't from trade reviews, but there's one from like the Wall Street Journal. There's one from some industry experts. They might be on the inside first few pages of the book, but these are just some more blurbs from different publications, different people, similar authors. And if a review favors a book or shows a book coming out in a good light, then this can be used by sales departments at publishers to solicit more orders from their accounts and libraries. I have library experience, and I would read a lot of these trade reviews. I personally liked Publishers Weekly. They came out very, very frequently, and they also had industry news inside of it. I like following that stuff anyway. I'm a nerd for anything relating to the business of books. So libraries will look at this stuff. Bookstores will look at this stuff. Publishers will use it to, pull lines for marketing purposes. It's very much like for the industry to use for its marketing purposes and for acquisition purposes as well. So how do you get these reviews? You can acquire them on your own, or your publisher can. So how do you do that? This is going to vary depending on the publication. Different trade magazines are going to have a different sort of submission process, but generally this is going to include an application that you would submit for review. The submission of your manuscript. You really never ever mail in things anymore, whether you're pitching to an agent or sending like anything that has to do with sending materials. It's almost always done either through email or a portal of some kind. So you would submit the electronic version of your manuscript. Some of these reviews are like a pay to review type of model where you pay $400, let's say, to get a 300-word review. Others, like I think Publishers Weekly might be an example of this. You can submit an application to be reviewed, but it's free. But the catch with that, though, is that there's no guarantee that your book is going to be reviewed. It's kind of like pulling a name out of a hat based on my understanding of it. Some of them are guaranteed, some of them aren't. It just requires a little bit of research, a little bit of shopping around on your end. But really, a lot of these reviews it's almost kind of like paying for different streaming services. You pay for Netflix separately, you pay for Hulu separately, you pay for HBO Max and whatever, Disney, I don't know, ESPN separately. I wish you could just pay a lump sum and get them all, but the more distribution you have, the more visibility you have, and that means that you're in front of the eyes of more librarians and bookstores, etc. So really, it just kind of depends on how much you want to kind of dive into that. But generally, that's how you would obtain a trade review. But what happens if you get a bad review? Again, I think this has to do with the type of publication that you're working with, but some publications or some trade reviews will allow you to not post it. I know Kirkus is an example of one where if you get a bad review, you can choose to not have it published. I think with Publishers Weekly, I've seen negative reviews. I don't know if that means that they went on ahead and published it anyway. I don't know if that means that the author or the publisher was okay with posting it. I'm not sure, but I have seen negative reviews before. It seems like some publications offer a choice with that. I'm not sure if others just do it anyway. It just kind of depends on the publication. Now, with that all being said, let's dive a little bit more into the details when it comes to specifically these different types of trade reviews, how each of them kind of work, and I'm going to be focusing on the four main ones, which is Kirkus, Publishers Weekly, Library Journal, and Booklist. So Kirkus is probably the most well-known trade review out there, and I've also heard that they are arguably the most critical. I typically would not recommend them to indie published authors because I've heard that they give more of a synopsis rather than an actual review of the book. So unless you want to pay $400 for, I don't know, synopsis from Kirkus, I probably would save your money or put it towards, I don't know, reader's favorite or something like that. Anyway, Kirkus is probably the most well-known trade review, and the people who review these books are librarians, nationally published journalists, creative executives, and more. And from what I've read in my research, your book is paired with a reviewer with deep experience and or expertise within the genre that your book is assigned to. Whatever genre your book is, you're going to get paired with almost like a subject matter expert, it seems. Kirkus reviews a pretty wide variety of books, pretty much anywhere from poetry to genre fiction to religious studies and even specialized how-to books. And it looks like they offer traditional reviews and expanded reviews. Just at the time of my making this video, at the time that I did my research, these are the figures that I have to offer. A traditional review is 250 words, so it's pretty short, and that's going to cost $425. An expanded review is 500 words, so it's double the length of a traditional, and that's at $575. And typically, it looks like it takes about 7 to 9 weeks to get that review. So these trade reviews, you do this before your book's publication or before a book comes out. I don't know of any trade reviews that review books after publication. I'm sure there are some that exist out there, but at least the ones that I am most familiar with and that a lot of other people are most familiar with want those manuscripts before they're live. So I would say you need to be thinking about it, a good 4 to 6 months maybe before your book's publication. And if I recall correctly, I think Kirkus is less frequent. I want to say they're like once a month, twice a month maybe. And Publishers Weekly, which is the next trade review magazine that I'm going to be talking about, they're very, very frequent, which is one of the reasons why I liked them. I want to say that they come out with a magazine like every week or two. Like it's pretty speedy. And the cool thing about Publishers Weekly though is that they do have a section for trade reviews for indie authors, for self-published authors called Book Life. This is a branch of Publishers Weekly that does support those writers specifically. I don't believe they get as much visibility as like the main Publishers Weekly type publication, but that is an option for you. So, there is some credibility that comes with having a trade review, a great trade review from one of these publications. So that is available, if you're someone who would want to self-publish. The manuscripts and electronic books that are submitted to Publishers Weekly, it looks like are reviewed by in-house editors, and they review anything from I think it's like they do fiction, nonfiction, and children's. So they have a very, very wide variety for specifics. I would look at their website, but they cover a lot of genres. And from what I see, there is no fee to submit to Publishers Weekly or Book Life, but there is no guarantee that it will be reviewed. However, if your book is chosen for a book life review, if you're an indie author, it looks like there's a fee for $400. The length of these reviews are 200 words for Publishers Weekly, 300 words for Book Life, and it looks like it takes about 6 to 12 weeks to get these reviews. And I will say the one thing that I do like, I think it's Kirkus, the one thing that I do like about Kirkus versus, Publishers Weekly is that at the end of their review, they have like a verdict where it's like a one-sentence summary of what, like in a nutshell, what they think about it. In a nutshell, who is this good for? In a nutshell, is it good or bad? I hate to use such black and white language, but there is kind of an appeal factor about that to me personally. It's like, you have this like big long paragraph talking about sort of like what the book is about, who it's good for, appealing factors about it. And then at the end, boom, this is what I think. I just personally happen to like that. Publishers Weekly, I don't think has that, but I like them anyway. Booklist and Library Journal, I didn't really read too many of these, but Booklist is a branch of the American Library Association, or the ALA, who targets librarians, educators, and booksellers. And the people who review these manuscripts that are submitted include contractors, freelancers, journalists, subject specialists, and in-house editors. They review poetry, fiction, and creative nonfiction. I'm not really sure how much it costs to get a review from Booklist. That's information that, for whatever reason, I just wasn't able to find. However, the length of their reviews are 150 to 175 words. And if you want to submit your manuscript for a Book Life review, you're going to need to do that 15 weeks prior to its publication. And then lastly, we have Library Journal, which, as the title implies, is going to be more geared toward librarians. And it also reports news about the library world. Specifically, that is more geared towards public libraries. The folks who review these submissions include booksellers, librarians, and other industry experts. They review general trade books, original paperbacks, e-originals, graphic novels, reference books, and professional development titles. This also includes fiction and nonfiction. I'm not sure how much it costs for a review like this or what the length of the review is, but the advanced reader copies, or whatever manuscript you send to them, should be received 6 months prior to publication. So you'll kind of see that with a lot of these trade reviews, they need a lot of time, or it's better to allow too much time than not enough time if you're someone who's interested in getting a trade review, or if you're working with a publisher, this is something that they would kind of take care of. But if this matter is kind of in your own hands, you would want to start thinking about it, at least in Library Journal's words, 6 months prior to publication. So there you have it. This is just meant to be kind of like a quick little video about trade reviews, what to know about them, if they're worth it, if they're not worth it. I would say that that's more of a personal question. Do they help sell books? Not necessarily, but they can help with the distribution or the availability of your book, I should say. Because like I said, the people who are reading these magazines are a lot of librarians and a lot of booksellers. If it's good, it's great. If it's not good, it's not the end of the world in terms of, the type of review that you do get back on your book. There's still more to the conversation than what I produced in this video, but this was just meant to be a basic overview of kind of how it works, what they are, what to expect. So if you have more information on trade reviews that you would like to contribute to the conversation, by all means, drop it in the comments. But anyway, I hope you found this helpful. If you did, feel free to leave a like, give a subscribe, leave your thoughts below, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, and I'll see you then.